Hello and welcome to today's story behind the song. And today's song is Wings of an Angel. This song was a song that I wrote, and on the album it was the one that really it didn't get recorded in the way that it was written. Um, when Keith Olsen, the producer, heard this song, he said, "You're just going to have to trust me on this." And the arrangement of the song is very much down to him. You know, the fact that we had all these keyboards on it, the gospel choir, the this guitar solo that was done on a Leslie guitar, everything about it, the little drum loop through it, everything about it was very much Keith's concept. And because he's Keith Olsen, we kind of went along with it, you know. But the way that the song was actually written was more like this sort of Jimi Hendrix vibe. And that was how I sort of heard the song. And when we played it live, it was very much around that sort of arrangement, and then it would sort of go into this big sort of power ending, which was more like your classic rock sort of vibe. In terms of the way that we recorded, the thing that I remember most about the recording of this song, not only the gospel choir and the incredible vocal that is on it, was that we used a couple of keyboard players, and one of those was a guy called Richard Baker, who was the keyboard player in Santana, and he also had a studio which was adjacent to Goodnight LA, which was Keith's studio. Now, Richard always had the demeanor of someone who did not want to be disturbed because he had a thousand things on his mind, but Keith kind of convinced him to play onto the track, and he came into the studio and he just listened to the song once. And he started playing it, and he sort of looked at Keith as if to say, like, "Are you recording this?" And Keith sort of went, "Yeah, I'm recording it." And Richard played it like in one go. You know, he finished the song and then pretty much just walked out of the studio as if to go, "Okay, I'm done, I'm out of here." It was a remarkable level of musicianship. I've seen it once before with Don Airey when he came in and played on some Jagged Edge songs. And then there was another keyboard player that came in called Jamie Jazz, and he set up a Fender Rhodes, and just once again he was done and dusted in 30 minutes. Came in, played it perfectly, went out again. And you know, it did give me an insight into the level of musicianship which is out there at the highest level, and then set a benchmark of, you know, what you want to try and attain for yourself. In regards to what is the song about, you know, it's a song that, you know, a lot of people have emotionally connected to over the years. I've received many emails and letters from people sort of saying how much it means to them. I know it's been played at funerals and various other very emotional situations in people's lives. But I initially wrote the song about Freddie Mercury. You know, there's been a few musicians in my life where I've sort of felt great sadness at their passing. Chris Cornell being one of them. Freddie Mercury was definitely another one. Bernie Tormey was another. And so the lyrics I wrote about him, but they can be interpreted in many different ways, and you know, that's up to the person. So the story like isn't like that much of a big deal about it. It was a relatively simple song to make. So I guess I'll add on my little segment to musicians, and I will talk about touring. Now, touring is the part of being a musician that I dislike the most. Not because I don't like playing live. I love playing live, you know, to the audience, and it's very much you know, what it's all about. But the reasons I don't like it is because of there's so much drama that's attached to it. I mean, first of all, just getting a band together, all rehearsed, all learning the songs, the same level of commitment. You know, this is hard work. There's the financial aspect of it, which is tough because people have jobs, they have commitments to family and stuff like that. And then there's the drama of dealing with people within the music industry, which can be exceptionally challenging for me because I'm not a particularly passive human being. And the second that I think someone is being confrontational or taking the piss, I tend to be quite confrontational back. And this can often lead into a lot of situations which are, you know, I'd rather avoid. You know, if I can give you, like, I always think that bands are a little bit like actresses or actors who have dreams of being, you know, in a big blockbuster movie. You know, first of all, we have aspirations of playing huge festivals and selling out huge auditoriums. You know, in the same way that an actress probably wants to be in a blockbuster movie. And then when you've been in the business for a long time, you kind of realize that, okay, now, you know, that's kind of maybe not as likely as I thought it was. And so you just have a dream of like maybe being in a movie, and then maybe you could be an extra, you know, and then you set your sights a little bit lower. Like maybe I could be like in a TV show, you know, and then you say, oh, maybe I'll be an extra. Maybe if I can just get in a movie and be an extra. And then maybe I'll be in, you know, if I can get into a commercial, you know, or a walk-on part, anything that would just get me there, you know, because the dream is so strong. And then you find out you're doing porn, you know, and first of all you're giving someone a blowjob, and then you're getting fucked, and then you find out that they want you to do anal, and then before you know it, you've got 6 guys lining up to fuck you. And that is a little bit like what being in a band is like. You know, so you have everyone trying to fuck you every possible moment. You know, if I can give you an example of this, I remember like the first tour that Skin did. We went on tour with Little Angels, and in order to do that tour, we had to pay £14,000 just for the privilege of being on the tour. We also had running costs of about £1,000 a day. You know, and I think it was about 15 shows. So let's just say that's 30 grand just to do the tour. You know, and the record company would lend you that money in order to do the tour. It would go onto your bill. But because the management had got you 30 grand, they would then take 20% of that, which is 6 grand. So you're actually borrowing 36 grand just to do the tour. You know, and then... You know, and then when you think about how a record deal is structured, you know, you have, back in the day, an album would be sold to a shop for £5. And the average record deal would mean that a band would get £1 of that. Out of that, you've got to pay tax, and your manager takes 20%. You know, and so you would have to sell 36,000 albums just to recoup the money of doing the tour, and on and on and on. And then you go on tour, and then you find out that you're going to get treated like shit by the main band. I'll give you another example of that. I remember we were on tour with Whitesnake. I was in Red, White and Blues, and we just literally finished the set. And as I was coming off stage, the tour manager said the production manager wants to talk to you right now in the office. I was like, man, okay, I'm covered in sweat. And so I go into the production manager's office, and he says, without looking up, he just says, you run over by 1 minute and 36 seconds. If it happens again, you're off the tour. At that moment in time, I'm making a decision whether to slam his head into the computer or come up with some rational thought and just say sorry, walk out the room so you get to do the next show. And then you find out on the next show that there's no lights and the house lights are on during the whole gig. That's another, that's something else that can happen on tour. And then let's talk about the cost. I can give you examples of where I've supported very big bands, and you're paid like maybe £250 or £500. So if you do the maths, even if it was just to say you're supporting a band who's playing to 3,000 people, and they've all paid £30. That's £90,000 of revenue that's been generated by the concert, but they will give the support band £500, which is less than half of a percent. And I'm very aware that every venue has its own costs. Trust me, at the age of 14, I was watching my sister doing percentages at venues. So the last thing I ever need is a lecture from anyone in the music industry about the running of a gig or the running of a band. I've been doing it for 40 years. So these are very real things that go on within the music industry. And every band who's got to that position of headliner will be thinking, we had to go through it, so now you will too. Now these, even though this sounds very, what's the word for it? Vitriolic, I guess is the word, or that you're going on a rant. And many times I've had people say to me, why are you ranting about it? And in my head I'm thinking, I'm not ranting. The time you need to worry is when I'm silent, because I'm thinking about whether I can break your fucking knee or not, for offering me £300 to pay in some venue. So what I'm trying to say here is, when you get into this music industry, you have to be aware that all of this is going to be stacked against you all the way through. And so you have to build up a level of resilience and tolerance, and only the strong will survive. I mean, historically, I have got such a temper on me that I was never destined to play the game. I don't play the game very well. So what happens is you get ostracized and you get left out of things because people fear the consequences. They'd rather not deal with the risk. So my advice to bands is, realize that this is what's going to be coming at you all the way through your career. And you need to get a manager that also knows how to deal with this level of onslaught that you're going to get from day one all the way to the end. So I hope that's been informative and an eye-opening experience. Until the next time.